My twin sister Brooke drained my savings, racked up debt in my name, left smug post-its like trophies, then showed up with a lawyer saying I owed her. So I pulled an Uno reverse that got her charged with felony identity theft and banned from our entire family. When we were 7, I picked the blue crayon, and Brooke grabbed it from my hand with a smirk. You always pick boring colors, she said. Our teacher blamed me for the argument. I remember swallowing the shame, pretending it didn't sting. At home, she flaunted her drawing while mine got tossed aside. That's when I learned Brooke always needed to win, and I was the shadow. It was just a crayon, but it set the tone for everything after. In high school, Brooke forged my signature on a permission slip to skip class, and then blamed me when she got caught. Her apologetic tears fooled the principal. I got detention, she walked free. At dinner, Mom said, Brooke's just impulsive. You're the responsible one. That label pinned me down while she danced around consequences. I held my breath, biting my tongue. That night, she whispered, you're better at taking the fall. I didn't realize it was a warning. At college, my debit card declined at the bookstore. Confused, I checked my balance empty. I froze. Transactions from nail salons, online boutiques, even a hotel. Brooke's smug selfies at those places popped up on her story. I confronted her. She laughed. We share everything, remember? That sick grin made my skin crawl. I filed a fraud report, but the bank hesitated. Same last name, same birth date. I started wondering, what else had she taken without me noticing? A week later, campus security called me in. My ID had been found after a theft in the science lab. Except I never lost it. Brooke had borrowed it for fun, apparently using it to access restricted areas. The officer raised an eyebrow. You have a twin, right? That moment chilled me. She wasn't just stealing money. She was stealing my identity. I texted her, furious. She replied with a winking emoji. That smug digital shrug nearly broke me. During a family dinner, Dad joked about my hotel expenses showing up on his credit card. My stomach dropped. Brooke had used my name and his info. When I protested, she gasped dramatically. You think I'd do that to you? Mom immediately scolded me for being accusatory. Brooke shot me that insidious smile, the one she wore when she knew she'd won. I sat in silence, humiliated. If my own parents wouldn't believe me, who would? I tried confiding in my roommate, Jenna. She nodded, then whispered later, you might be overreacting. It's just sister stuff. That stung worse than silence. Brooke had even won over my friends. Days later, I found my favorite jacket in Jenna's closet. Brooke had gifted it to her. That betrayal hit deep. The red herring wasn't just Jenna. It was my belief that I had allies. I realized I was surrounded by people Brooke had subtly turned against me. At graduation rehearsal, the coordinator handed Brooke my honors sash. You're Brooke, right? She asked. Brooke winked, and nodded. I stormed in, heart pounding. That's mine. Brooke scoffed, she's confused. We're twins. Everyone froze. I pulled out a printed email. My scholarship confirmation with ID. The coordinator's eyes widened. Brooke's face cracked. A second, then reset into that insidious smile. But this time, I wasn't backing down. The Uno reverse was loading, and it was personal. Later that day, I emailed the dean every piece of evidence. Duplicate accounts, forged documents, screenshots of Brooke bragging in private messages. When they called us in, she tried to cry again. I was just helping her catch up, she claimed, eyes glistening. I didn't flinch. The dean turned to me. We'll need an investigation. Brooke's face paled, her smug act cracking. That moment felt like the first breath after drowning. Finally, someone wasn't buying her charm. 2 days later, campus police knocked on our dorm door. Brooke froze mid-laugh. It's probably a mistake, she said, that familiar insidious smile flickering, but her eyes darted. They questioned us separately. When they returned, they held up a USB. Mine, stolen weeks ago, now loaded with altered files. We have reason to believe you falsified academic records. The officer told her. Brooke's silence was deafening. For once, her lies weren't enough. She looked cornered. That night, Brooke slammed the door behind her, furious. You think this fixes anything? You've always been jealous, she hissed. Her voice cracked not from guilt but rage. I stood my ground. I wanted a sister, not a shadow that steals. She laughed bitterly. You finally found your voice. Congrats. I clenched my fists. For years, I'd let her rewrite the narrative, but now I was writing my own. Her Uno reverse. Mine just hit harder. The next morning, I filed a formal complaint with both the university and local police. My hands shook, but I signed every form. As I left the station, I saw Brooke sitting on the curb, mascara streaked, clutching her phone. No more smugness. No more insidious smile. Just silence. I didn't stop. That image, her powerless and exposed, burned into me. The Uno reverse wasn't revenge, it was justice, and I had finally hit send. Just when I thought it was over, I got a text from a loan agency. Your application was denied. I hadn't applied. Turns out, Brooke had tried to open a business credit line under my name. Again. Even after everything. She hadn't stopped. My stomach twisted. The Uno reverse wasn't complete. It was still unfolding. I called the agency, flagged the fraud, and requested all documents. Her game wasn't over, but this time I knew how to play. I received the loan packet. Inside was a forged driver's license with my face but Brooke's signature. She'd submitted a fake lease, fake pay stubs, even a fake business website. I felt nauseous. The lengths she went to were chilling. This wasn't impulsive. It was a calculated scam. I scanned every page, screenshot everything, filed another police report. Brooke hadn't just messed with my life. She built an alternate version of it. But now, I had proof. When I showed the detective the forged documents, he raised an eyebrow. She's been doing this a while. Hasn't she? He muttered. That validation hit hard. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't overreacting. They opened a broader investigation into multiple identity theft cases tied to her name. Turns out, I wasn't the only victim. Brooke had pulled the same scam on two ex-boyfriends, same fake business, same tricks. My story was horrifying, but not unique. She was serial. One of Brooke's exes reached out after hearing about the investigation. She ruined my credit, he wrote. We spoke on the phone comparing timelines. She'd used my name with him too, telling him I was her assistant, managing money. I felt sick. I wasn't just a victim. I'd been weaponized. My name had shielded her from suspicion. I added his affidavit to my report. The puzzle was bigger than I imagined, and Brooke's undoing was finally accelerating. The police found a storage unit rented under my name, Brooke's secret stash. Inside, fake IDs, wigs, burner phones, even scripts for calls. It looked like a con artist's prep room. I stared at the chaos, stunned. She'd built an entire persona off my identity. Seeing it laid out like evidence in a movie made it real. No more doubts, no more denial. Brooke hadn't just crossed a line, she'd erased it, and I was done protecting her. A week later, Brooke tried to contact me. Blocked number, voicemail. We're still sisters, you know. Her voice sounded calm, rehearsed, like one of her scripts. I played it again, analyzing each word. No apology, no remorse, just control. That smug tone crawled under my skin. I forwarded the voicemail to the detective. She wasn't reaching out for peace, she was testing boundaries, but this time I had none left. She burned that bridge down to ashes. At the hearing, Brooke showed up in my favorite blazer, one she'd stolen years ago. Audacity made my blood boil. She smiled sweetly at the judge, voice dripping innocence. But this time, I had a folder of evidence, witnesses, and dates. When I took the stand, I locked eyes with her. You stole my life, I said clearly. Her smile twitched. The Uno reverse wasn't about revenge. It was about telling the truth, loud and public. During cross-examination, Brooke slipped. When asked how she knew my banking passwords, she stammered. We always shared I guessed. The courtroom fell silent. Her attorney shifted uncomfortably. That moment cracked her mask. The prosecutor leaned in. You mean to say you guessed 10 different logins? Brooke's face flushed. That insidious confidence she'd worn like armor began to crumble. For the first time, consequences were catching up. And this time, I wasn't the scapegoat. After court, reporters swarmed us. One asked, how does it feel to testify against your twin? I paused, steady. It's not betrayal when you're defending yourself. The next morning, my words were everywhere, quotes, hashtags, even TikTok edits. For years, Brooke had controlled the narrative. Now, strangers were siding with me. The court of public opinion had flipped. The Uno reverse echoed louder than I expected, and for the first time, I wasn't hiding in her shadow. A few days later, I got an envelope, Brooke's handwriting. Inside, a torn photo of us as kids and a sticky note that read, you win. No apology, just surrender wrapped in pettiness. I held the photo, half of my childhood missing. It didn't feel like victory, it felt like closure. That was her last move. No more manipulation, no more games, just silence. And in that silence I realized I'd finally reclaimed my name, my life. Cleaning out my email, I found one last surprise, an auto-forward Brooke had set up months ago. She'd been reading everything. My job offers, therapy appointments, even my therapist's notes. Violation flooded me. I shut it down, changed every password again. The therapist said, it's not just control, it's obsession. That word stuck. Brooke hadn't wanted a life of her own, she wanted mine, but she couldn't have it anymore. I was cutting every last wire. I scheduled a meeting with HR at my new job, just in case. I explained everything, handed them a folder of court documents. The manager nodded, serious. You did the right thing. For once, I wasn't afraid my truth would be doubted. Brooke's sabotage had made me cautious, but not silent. That meeting marked something new. I was taking control before chaos could strike. No more cleanup, just prevention, and it felt powerful, like armor I earned. Weeks later, a friend sent me a Reddit thread. Brooke's aliases had popped up in a scam warning forum. Comments detailed similar fraud, fake jobs, fake rentals, stolen photos. My jaw tightened. She wasn't done, just redirected. But this time, people were talking, victims were connecting dots. I contacted the moderator, shared my case file. That forum became a warning light, not a tombstone. Brooke's web was unraveling, and I was no longer trapped inside it. An old professor emailed me out of the blue. Are you really applying again? Brooke had used my name to request a reference for grad school. I felt the heat rise in my chest. Even now, she was trying to climb higher with my credentials. I called the admissions office. Flagged the fraud. They thanked me. That wasn't just identity theft, it was legacy theft. She wasn't stealing my future anymore. I was finally shutting every door. I got a call from a recruiter. We're following up on your application. Confused, I asked which company. It was one I'd never heard of. Brooke had submitted my resume, with slight tweaks and her number. She'd hoped to intercept interviews. The audacity stunned me. I flagged the account, notified the platform, and sent the recruiter proof. Her desperation reeked through every fake document. She wasn't just trying to be me anymore, she was losing herself. During a check-in with my therapist, I finally asked, what if she never stops? She replied, then you keep choosing you. That hit deeper than expected. For so long, my energy revolved around Brooke reacting, protecting, recovering. Now I was building, not bracing. That shift mattered. I didn't need to watch my back forever. I just needed to know my boundaries were real, and that meant no more contact, no curiosity, just clarity and distance. One morning, I received a private message from an unfamiliar account. I think I'm dating your sister. Can we talk? My stomach flipped. Another victim. I replied carefully, verifying his story. Same lies, different city. She was using my old photos on dating apps. I sent him resources, offered no contact. I wasn't her cleanup crew anymore. Helping others was healing, but with limits. Brooke's story could spread, but mine would be rooted in truth and boundaries. A news outlet contacted me. They were covering digital identity theft and wanted my story. I hesitated, then said yes. In the interview, I didn't name Brooke. I named the pattern, the manipulation, the emotional toll. The reporter asked, what do you want others to know? I said, that believing someone doesn't make you naive, but healing means stopping their script. Sharing publicly wasn't revenge. It was reclaiming my voice, and it echoed louder than hers ever did. The article went viral. Messages poured in, strangers thanking me, others sharing eerily similar stories. One woman wrote, "I thought I was crazy until I read your words. I cried reading that. For so long, I'd felt alone, gaslit by family, by silence. Now, my pain had purpose. Not just for me, but for anyone who'd ever been replaced, erased, or disbelieved." The Uno reverse wasn't a card anymore. It was a ripple, and it had just begun. Months later, I got a letter from the state. Brooke was officially barred from using my name or likeness in any legal or financial document. A restraining order, yes, but also recognition. My identity, once hijacked, was now legally mine again. I sat with the letter, breath steady. No more loopholes, no more shadows. The system saw me, protected me. That final Uno reverse wasn't loud. It was silent, solid, and finally mine. Sitting in my new apartment, I framed the court letter beside a photo of me. Not us, just me. For years, I didn't think I could exist without her in the frame. Now, I wasn't just surviving. I was defining. That letter wasn't just legal protection. It was proof I chose myself. Every day, I repeated it. I am not her. I am not her shadow. I am not her victim. I am enough on my own. In therapy, I unpacked the phrase Brooke once whispered, "You're better at taking the fall." For so long, I'd carried that lie like a badge. Now, I saw it for what it was. Manipulation wrapped in flattery. I wrote it down, then crossed it out in thick red ink. That simple act felt revolutionary. Healing didn't mean forgetting. It meant rewriting, and I was finally the author. No co-writer, no ghost edits, just me telling the truth. One morning, I walked past a mirror and didn't brace myself. No comparisons, no echoes of Brooke's smirk or voice. Just me, messy bun, coffee stain, and a calm I didn't recognize at first. I smiled. It wasn't about being the better twin, anymore. It was about not being trapped in that question at all. Freedom wasn't flashy, it was quiet, steady. It looked like choosing my own clothes, my own path, without anyone watching. I started journaling again, not about Brooke, but about me. Things I liked, things I wanted. I wrote, "Pulling an Uno reverse isn't about revenge, it's about reset." That phrase became a mantra. I lit a candle, folded the old notes she left me, and burned them safely. Watching them curl to ash felt symbolic, but also real. I wasn't clinging to the pain anymore. I was documenting the healing. Finally, the story was mine to keep. I revisited old places. My childhood park, the coffee shop where I used to study without flinching. These weren't Brooke's backdrops anymore. They were mine. I ordered my usual, smiled at the barista, and read a book cover to cover. No interruptions. No fear she'd show up pretending to be me. That peace was unfamiliar, but welcome. Healing didn't announce itself. It arrived in small moments, like sunlight through blinds, and in that quiet, I finally exhaled. Brooke pled guilty to multiple counts of fraud and identity theft. The judge ordered probation, restitution, and mandatory therapy. Watching her stand silent in court, no spin, no smirk, felt surreal. I didn't celebrate, I observed. Justice wasn't flashy. It was procedural, methodical, permanent. That courtroom wasn't revenge. It was reality catching up. My name was cleared, my accounts restored, and Brooke's record now held the truth she'd spent years rewriting. The Uno reverse card wasn't loud, it was final. I joined an online support group for victims of identity abuse. Sharing my story wasn't just cathartic, it was connective. One woman messaged, "You made me feel sane again." That hit deep. For years, I'd begged people to believe me. Now, strangers believed without question. My truth didn't need defending anymore. It stood tall on its own. The Uno reverse had become a ripple of recovery, for others too, and for the first time, I felt seen, not shadowed. I started a podcast, small at first, about reclaiming identity after betrayal. Each episode, I interviewed survivors, experts, people who'd rebuilt from chaos. The inbox filled quickly. Stories, gratitude, questions. It wasn't about Brooke anymore. It was about building something real, honest, mine. Listeners called it empowering. I called it necessary. That mic became my Uno reverse, my voice amplified. And every time I hit publish, I remember the silence I used to live in. Not anymore. On my birthday, I took a solo trip to the coast, no texts to dodge, no drama to manage. Just ocean air, a journal, and space. I stood barefoot in the sand, wind in my face, and whispered, "You don't own this moment." It wasn't about Brooke. It was about me, choosing presence over pain. The Uno reverse wasn't just a comeback, it was a reset. And as the waves crashed around me, I smiled. I was finally free.